So since we moved in using Databox, it's that whole single source of truth, right? Instead of having to go to Google Analytics and Search Console and HubSpot and Rank Tool and whatever, wherever the data is being held, a client can go one place and see what they need to see. My team members can go to one place and see what I need them to see. A lot of times when I'm training people, a lot of my team aren't marketers. They didn't come from the marketing world, right? So I'm teaching them, and they're learning how to do things differently. And even if they did come from the marketing world, we do it very different. We have our own ways, and I want them to look at certain things and understand certain things. And so by giving them that and being able to do that very cleanly and do it in a way that's quick and it's mobile, it makes it a lot more sane for me because I know what they're looking at. And then it helps clients, get a better grip on their data.
Before I jump into the main questions here in the interview, just wanted to get some basics about your agency. So could you just share how many employees you have, what kind of services you offer, what the average deal size is, and just kind of the basics about your agency?
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Shelley, and our agency, Shelley Media Arts, we typically go by SMA Marketing now. We focus primarily on organic demand generation, so helping businesses grow using search engines. That's typically my background's in SEO, white hat SEO, link building, that sort of thing. We work a lot in this industry. We work a lot with software partners, software companies, startups that are creating software solutions. So that's typically, we also do a little bit more work in the technical engineering space as well. We're kind of in a hotbed of engineering here in Melbourne, Florida. We've got Harris Corporation, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, all those things going on around here. SpaceX is just up the street. So right now we've got 20 people on our team. Been growing quite a bit. There was 4 of us this time last year, so learning how to scale that. Our retainer range is pretty broad right now. We've got a number of legacy clients in the local search world. That's kind of where we grew out of, was just local SEO. But now it's definitely getting more to the average retainer size, about 3 to 4K, and then kind of growing from there. A lot of our work starts in search and SEO, and then moves into lead generation and lead attribution, and trying to help companies understand where their best clients, their best prospects are coming from, and helping them make better decisions on that, and creating really funnels or pathways to help them succeed.
Sure. And what was life like for you guys before Databox?
So I like data. I've spent a lot of time ever since I got into the marketing world, was how do I prove that what I'm doing is working? So I'm a big user of Google Analytics. I love to track and understand why people are doing what they're doing through the funnel. I was using Google's tool, Data Studio, before using, sorry for all the before using Databox. And it's a good tool. I mean, it's a Google tool, works in the Google ecosystem. But I realized too that for my clients, they don't need the depth sometimes that I need or want. They need to be able to quickly understand what I'm saying and actually internalize it and see that it's actionable and not just a bunch of numbers on a screen, and trying to move them away from, we had this conversation today, client obsessing over open rates. And I was saying, yes, opening is important, but if they do nothing after that, there's a problem. And trying to help educate them. And it's been a really helpful tool, because before you can do so much, you can give so much data, but it's really being able to simply display it and allow them to have full access to it all the time. I have a client, they want to track their sales and marketing funnels. They have a board that they can easily go, here's how many people are in this funnel. Here's how many people are in this funnel. They don't have to email me every week to get that data, because they can easily get it. And I know it's clean. I know it's going to look nice. So Databox has helped me streamline that. And now as I'm getting more advanced and doing a lot of my own queries and building some other tools into it, I'm even allowing myself to track some stuff that I've wanted to track in a different way. So it's been cool. It's definitely been cool. I've tried a lot of other tools and programs besides Google Data Studio. I mean, I've used pretty much, if it's a BIO software, I've used it out there in some form or another. So
Yeah. How has life changed since you started using Databox, like for your agency?
So since we moved in using Databox, it's that whole single source of truth, right? Instead of having to go to Google Analytics and Search Console and HubSpot and Rank Tool and whatever, wherever the data is being held, a client can go one place and see what they need to see. My team members can go to one place and see what I need them to see. A lot of times when I'm training people, a lot of my team aren't marketers. They didn't come from the marketing world, right? So I'm teaching them, and they're learning how to do things differently. And even if they did come from the marketing world, we do it very different. We have our own ways, and I want them to look at certain things and understand certain things. And so by giving them that and being able to do that very cleanly and do it in a way that's quick and it's mobile, it makes it a lot more sane for me because I know what they're looking at. And then it helps clients, get a better grip on their data, even though it's still hard to understand sometimes. It's still hard to really get a full understanding. At least they know that they can go to this dashboard or data board, whatever we want to call it, and see what they need to see.
Sure. And across your clients, are they tracking like relatively consistent metrics? Like, are they all looking for certain things from Google Analytics or HubSpot or Search Console, or do you have like a little bit of a variety across your clients with the metrics they're trying to track?
So we have specific internal boards that I've built for our team that can go in, and it's like Google Analytics dashboard and a Search Console dashboard that has the stuff I need them to be tracking. Mm-hmm. We do share that with the clients that want to see that. Mm-hmm. And then we also have, depending on what their goals are, we have different KPI boards. So, if it's an SEO client, we're just doing traffic, then we have a board that's specific to traffic. And then, HubSpot, lead generation, sales, whatever, there are some, typically when you grow a retainer and you get a bigger retainer, we have to have a little bit more specific boards for them because they have more specific answers that they're trying to find. So it's a little bit of both. We do have our internal boards that we kind of track just from a high level standpoint, but then there's like a specific thing if a client's like, I want to be able to see this, and we'll think through it and go, okay, then we need to build them this specific board that's going to allow them to see the specific thing that they need to be tracking. So there's a little bit of both.
Yeah, sure. And I'd love to learn more about these SEO clients here. So I've heard, plenty of stories from agency world about the interesting perspectives clients sometimes come in when they're looking for SEO services. Sometimes they want like a magic number of links built in the next 30 days, or they want, some miracle solution that might not be possible. Or sometimes they've had a bad experience with an SEO agency before, someone that didn't follow through. And so I was curious to learn from you, like, how do you set expectations appropriately in the sales process? Like, are you getting them to think about a certain number? Like, how do you direct their attention in the right way in the sales process?
Yeah, I mean, empathy is a huge thing. It's a huge skill to have in the sales process, especially when, SEO is kind of a dirty word sometimes. It's one, it's an industry that dies every year apparently. But the reality is there's a lot of people that think they know what they want, or they assume. I mean, I've gotten everything from, you do SEO, so will you run our Facebook ads? Which I'm like, that's not the same thing. Or we just need 1,000 links. I was like, you don't want to do that. And so I do a lot of education. I do a lot of empathy and understanding that a lot of our clients have been burned. A lot of our clients have invested a lot of money into something that they got screwed on a lot of the time. So we walk them through like how the search engines work, where Google is headed with like search intent, and how do you understand that? For you HubSpot agencies out there, like HubSpot got rid of keywords. I still think that was a dumb thing because they're very, very important. and understanding how to do keyword research and how topics tie together, but also how there's still a good play for those medium and long tail keywords. So we kind of walk them through that. But the real goal is in the sales process is, what are you actually trying to achieve? Mm-hmm. Why do you want more traffic? If it's just for the sake of having more traffic, we don't do that. Like, mm-hmm. that's a lose. There's nothing that we can say we won on, right? Like, mm-hmm. yeah, traffic's up, but then they're going to complain that they're not getting more business. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not what you asked for. In the beginning you said this. So just getting very clear on what they actually want to achieve. And this is something I've had to learn the hard way. You start growing and you're like, yeah, I'll just take it. It's a new client. Great. But now saying, okay, I can't ever achieve what they want because I don't actually know what they want. So working through that and really being able to define that and saying, is that even the right metric for you? I tried to do some consulting there too. And, again, it was today, it was like, we need to have better open rates. Well, yes, you want to increase your open rates because they're doing some outbound campaign. But more than that, who gives a crap if they open it if they don't do anything with it, or they open it and click.
Oop, I think I lost you. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry. I'll say that. Yeah, but sometimes you can get an open and a click, but that open is to open it into unsubscribe. As far as the email metric goes, you got an open and a click. You should feel good about yourself. But the reality is you piss somebody off. And so it's kind of trying to tie it all back to like actual tangible business goals. And so that's a key in SEO, because SEO is very important and it's a very strategic way to market, but you have to do it from the standpoint that you're achieving business results and not just numbers, because numbers don't pay the bills.
Yeah. So do you guys offer like full funnel services then? Because what I'm imagining is someone comes in, they say, oh, I need all this traffic via SEO. And you're like, whoa, let's take a step back. What are you actually trying to achieve here? And then are you able to offer like or recommend a full like funnel strategy? Or do you say, hey, we'll help you with the SEO side. We'll like, here's some recommendations on how to set up, landing pages and whatnot. Like, how do you make that transition?
It depends on the company. So there are some enterprise companies we work with where they've got very large marketing teams, and they need help on the search side. So we'll come in and we're kind of a search contractor and assisting them there, doing link building and content outreach and that sort of thing. But there's also the other side of that where there's companies that's like a one-person marketing team. They know they need organic search. Well, that's one piece. And then they start listing everything else. And then we're able to say, what you actually need is an inbound strategy. This is what we can provide. And so sometimes they'll say, great, we don't have the budget for that. We have the budget for this. So we'll start in chunks. So we'll start in like a growth phase. So we'll do a builder campaign. We kind of basically two kind of campaigns we do. We do builder campaigns, which are really just to get you off the ground and get you running. And then we do driver campaigns, which is more that long-term driving, sustaining growth, building on what we've already built on that foundation. So sometimes we'll start with SEO chunk and content. Typically, if they do SEO, we're doing content marketing alongside of that. And that's where our team's probably grown the most, is we've really invested in writers and our own writers in-house to make sure that our content doesn't suck, and that it's, because that's the problem, right? There's a lot of that out there. And we don't get it right all the time, but at least it's easier and we can actually speak to our writers directly. And so we'll build there. And then from there, they'll say, okay, we've now grown and the CEO has seen growth. Now they're willing to invest more in capturing those leads. Okay, now that we've captured those leads, now they want to invest more in how do we nurture them and sell to them. So it's a lot of times it's a stepping stone.
Do you guys set concrete goals with them in the sales process around this stuff? So it sounds like, for example, you talked about setting a concrete goal around inbound links might be a bad one, right? Because then you're incentivizing the wrong behavior. But do you set or maybe you do set that goal. Do you do that? Or do you say, let's wait 3 months and then see how this is playing out, then set a concrete goal? How do you frame that for them?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a firm believer in being flexible. I know the term agile gets thrown around a lot. I wouldn't say that we're strictly agile. I would say that we're flexible. Because what happens, I think, just in life with human beings is you have a goal, you start doing something, and you realize that what you're going for isn't really what you wanted, but what you wanted was just like slightly to the left or to the right. and not having the ability, like not having the flexibility to say like, okay, we need to adjust slightly. It just, to me, it seems like arrogant and suicide. But so we try to, yes, this is what you want, and say, and we try to make sure it's realistic. We actually believe in SMART goals, and saying, is this measurable? Is it specific? Can we actually do it? Is it attainable? Is it results, based? Is it, and then when are we gonna have it done by? Because I hate open-ended timelines. It stresses me out. And so we do set that, and then what we do is we get together quarterly and we say, are these still the goals? Is this still our true north? No, okay, this is adjusted slightly. Okay, here's what we need to do to make that pivot. Here's what we need to do to make that adjustment. So we're always reviewing those because your goals change. They're going to change. We need to have something to hit in front, and we try to hit something concrete, not super crazy. It's like I said, try to keep them smart. But at the same time, have the ability to, we always like to go back at least minimally quarterly, because that's really, we have enough data to have a decision. Too many people also they call themselves agile, but really what they are, they don't have direction. And so they just keep chasing whatever looks shiny. You have to say, you don't ever have enough time to know if what you're doing is working. So try to give ourselves some of that lead time in order to collect data.
So can you tell me more about that? Like, is that like a quarterly review that you sit down and do with the client and say, here's how things are going? Like, do you normally reposition things? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's honestly more of a new thing, and we do it a value uplift is what we call it. And we look at the past quarter, we look at what we did, what worked, what didn't work, what were the goals, did we achieve those goals, did those goals actually meet the intended business goal behind it, and we look at the good and we look at the bad, and we say, this is where we succeeded, this is where we came up short, this is why I think we came up short, here's how we can improve it. And then we talk to the client, is this still where you're going? Is this still where you want to be? And we do sit and we go through this deck together, and we together make that decision. Are we headed in the right direction or not?
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a really good process. And especially when we talk about inbound, right? You want to give it enough time to cook or to marinate, as a metaphor I've heard from other people, but like making sure you have enough time to actually complete the campaigns before you evaluate if they were good or not. What does that look like internally for you guys over the quarter? Are you having internal meetings every week, every month? How do you make sure you're on track for that goal?
It depends on the level retainer. And we're in a process now where we're really trying to solidify our processes as much as possible. That's definitely an area where we're feeling a little stretched in, just because, we've grown, and when you grow, things have to change. Bigger clients, higher retainer clients, we typically meet with them weekly to address these things, like do a recap. Other clients, like our mid-tier, we do like bi-weekly. And then low-level retainers, some of them are just, they're like on autopilot. They're like, the numbers we're working, we're growing, we don't care. Like, so I really like those clients. But even them, I try to reach out to at least once a month. At least everybody gets reached out to at least by email once a month, and just say, hey, how are you doing? This is what's happening. And even though they get their Databox reports, we still send them one too that's just a little more personal, and saying, hey, here's what we've done. Here's what we're working on next, just so they have some transparency and know that we're not just sitting there collecting a check and waiting for them to complain. That we're being proactive in what we're doing for them.
Right. And what happens in those weekly and bi-weekly meetings? Is that focused on actual marketing activities, or is it focused on the data? What is like the way that you communicate your work over those meetings?
Yeah. So everything we do is going to be tied back to data in some way or another. Some of it is very, very strategic and tactical though too. It's, we have this video, here's the notes on the video. Let's get a final say on it so we can upload it and post it, and then we can track it. But we'll also cover, here's the activities that were done last week. Here's what we're seeing. Here's the visibility of X, Y, Z. Here's the engagement on those. Here's the result of those engagements. Let's try this. Let's try that. Those sort of things. So data is kind of weaved into everything that we do and that I do. I think it came out at first as like, more so of afraid that I didn't know what I was doing, making sure that I at least had some numbers to help point me in a direction. And so it's just been kind of into my processes and how I look at things. And even teaching my team who was like, I hate numbers. And now they're like, oh, I see why you track this stuff. And getting involved in it too. So it's a little bit tactical, a little bit strategic, and then data's kind of used before that. They'll say, I want to go here. Well, then we'll run a couple queries and figure out, well, hey, those type of terms aren't actually being searched in that area. We need to flip it to this and start to think about it this way because this is how people are interacting. Or on YouTube, you need to phrase it like this because this is the way that they're searching for it. And, we do a lot of video SEO as well. So yeah, it's kind of woven into the whole process.
When you say video SEO, it means YouTube, right?
Yeah, not strictly, but predominantly we do a lot of stuff on YouTube, and then we do a lot of stuff with schema, markup on pages, and because you have the video carousels and you've got dynamic search now with a lot of that.
I got it. You said in weekly and bi-weekly meetings you are making some slight adjustments. So you see it as like a slight adjustment that might happen after a weekly meeting versus like a strategic adjustment that might happen in a quarterly meeting. Is that the difference between those two?
Yeah. Quarterly would be a lot larger. Weekly, those meetings are more like tactical adjustments. Rephrase this as a question instead of a statement type things. Let's change the color of this ad or the background of this color. It's more of those things where we're testing.
What happens when the numbers don't seem to be going too well? It might be been going that way for a week or a month. How do you communicate that to the clients so that you still maintain their trust and they still, believe in you?
So I'm a big believer is you have to show the green and the red arrows. In the nature of SEO too, it's up and down a lot, and today rankings fluctuate hourly in some cases. That's just the way the search engines work. And so I try to pull back if I see a downward, if it's a downward momentum, maybe for a week or two, I try to pull out to see if it's a long-term trend. If it's a long-term trend, then we start to look for holes because then I can come to them and say, hey, I've noticed this trend in this specific area. It's a problem and we need to fix it. I usually don't wait for it to get like horrible before we have a conversation pretty quickly when and being able to slice and dice data helps me better understand. So we've got a client that works in a number of different languages, right? So English, Spanish, Portuguese, and I was looking at their trends, right? And I was seeing this downward trend for the last 30 days. And I was like, what is going on? When I looked in it, actually, the English organic is up almost 40%. About 40%. But the tanking was actually happening in the other languages. So now I can say, hey, we're doing really good in the English speaking, but we need to figure out what's going on over here in languages I don't speak. But what was good to know is by having that conversation, and they were like, well, actually, we've slowed down our promotion in those others, and we want to actually focus more on English. So, instead of I was able to say, hey, this is a trend that I don't like, and we need to talk about it. But we were able to put it more in context and knowing because we're just doing SEO for this company. Mm-hmm. And so they were able to give us some feedback and insight so I could stop panicking. Because I was like, we're doing well in English. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question fully, but.
Yeah, it definitely answers the question. And how do you guys organize that internally? Are there multiple people that have a discussion before you present to the client, or is this one account manager that does it? How do you guys organize that?
So that's what we're working on because right now it's pretty much I'm the data scientist really. That's what I do and that's what I like doing. And I think that's a skill that I've worked on and spent a lot of time working on is how to have those conversations with data in a way that's not like, hey nerd, I don't understand what you're talking about, but in a way that's actually helpful for them and say, here's what you should look at, because you log in, and even in HubSpot today, the client logs in like, what's referral, what's direct, what's, and I get it. If you don't know, you don't know. It's not that, he knows a lot of stuff I don't know. So it's just helping educate him and saying, here's what it means. And here's how you can drill down and click in and see what you want to see. He's like, how do I know if these two ads are working? I was like this, spend more money here,
Right.
spend less money here.
Yeah.
Um,
And did you say you're educating your internal team currently so they can take more responsibility over that? Is that what you said?
yeah, we're constantly doing that.
Mm.
And they're getting better at it as well. But all the account managers, I expect them to have a basic knowledge and basic ability to translate that in a coherent way.
Yeah.
So it's not like, let's ask Ryan. We do have some of that, and we're trying to get out of that, and I'm trying to grow that, and that's just part of growing. I have to keep telling myself that, even though it is hard. But they're getting better at it, and they're being able to see it.
Nice. How do you run that education? Is that you personally giving a lecture? Is it taking academy classes? How do they learn more about that?
Yeah. So we do monthly. We do weekly meetings, and usually for a chunk of that meeting, I'll try to do some sort of training, or say, hey, here's a dashboard. Here's what it means. And then I'm very big on learning by doing. So, and I've learned a lot of things the hard knock way, right? And so I get in there and break stuff, figure out how it works. You got questions. And I also make videos as well. So if I'm doing something new or something different, I'll make a screen share video and send them a link and say, now you do it. So, but we're currently building a knowledge base, and there's a whole data side to the knowledge base for our team where they can go in, here's how you use the sources, and then here's how you use Databox.
Last question for you here. Is there any one feature in Databox that you've enjoyed the most or has made you guys the most successful?
One feature. That's a hard one. So I would probably say for me, it's been Query Builder, because on a lot of reports I segment out organic traffic because that's what we're responsible for. And so I'm able to create all of my triggers and tags in search and Tag Manager, which allows me to track conversions and analytics, because not all our clients use HubSpot. So then we can build out these conversion funnels and analytics, and then I can segment those with Query Builder and say, here's your organic funnel. Here's how many phone calls we've generated off your site. Here's how many form fills we've done through organic. And it's all done because I can segment that in Query Builder.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds a lot more in-depth than a lot of the people that use us, so I'm impressed. You specifically use the GA Query Builder then, right? As opposed to like the HubSpot ones or the...
Yeah. Because what we'll do is we'll build, we got a number of scripts inside of the Tag Manager that we use to track scroll depth and clicks and internal clicks, external clicks, phone calls, form fills, to really get an idea of their behavior. And then we'll set up goals in Google Analytics associated with tracking certain events. Yep. And then with those events, we can segment down into organic and watch their pathway through and say, this page, form fill. But then in Query Builder, I've got organic boards, which here's your organic traffic. Here's your organic form fills. So I can say, I know that we are responsible for this. And this is what we've generated for you. So it's helpful to me to see what we're doing, but it's also really helpful for clients because I could say, we're in charge of organic visibility. Here's what we've done in organic.
Right.
As opposed to just giving like a dashboard that has all traffic and, we spend money on PPC. Well, we do this. And I can easily segment it and go, right, here's PPC, here's organic. We're beating them. You need to give us money.
Right.
So
it sounds like some of those more in-depth custom events, you might be more likely to keep them internal, right? That's more for your internal tracking. And then you might present higher level metrics to the client, or do you also present those in-depth metrics?
Sometimes. Not all clients want it or need it. It usually just confuses them.
Yeah.
But if they're like, why aren't people going here? I can say, well, most of your traffic drops off at scrolling 50%.
Yeah.
And I've been tracking it. We've tracked it with 30,000 visitors.
Yeah.
So we need to move elements around. So it's kind of a way to do like heat mapping without having to do heat mapping. We do heat mapping too for certain things, but it's nice to have it in Google Analytics because I can track heat mapping through an entire buyer's like experience or a user experience or a segment's experience. So sometimes we do, but a lot of times it's confusing to them. So less is more.
Yeah.
In this case, yeah.
All right. Well, now I feel like we need to do a whole nother video on the intricacies of Tag Manager and how to get that into GA and then turn that into actionable marketing insight. But maybe that's for another day.
Cool. Yeah. I love that stuff. I was terrified of Tag Manager when I started,
Yeah.
and I've learned a lot. And as I've learned more on it, it's been able to open up a number of different avenues,
Yeah.
like why people are doing what they're doing, and actually knowing what they're doing all the way on the website.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Ryan, and maybe we'll be able to do that video in the future.
Cool. Yeah, it would be fun.
All right. Have a good one.
See ya.